Good morning. You okay? Good. Okie dokie. We're going to get going, guys. So, code's on screen if you haven't checked in. Do you want to grab a quick picture of that just so I can move it on? Today we're going to be talking about the triple bottom line. Morning. Triple bottom line. What do you think we mean by the triple bottom line? What are we referring to if we talk about the bottom line when it comes to sports, or sorry, just business in general? The bottom line. Think back to our previous weeks when we've looked at financial information and documents. What does the bottom line refer to?
Cash flow?
Cash flow?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the right lines.
I mean, what line we can't go? To break even at least.
Yeah? Look, yeah. You're nearly there. Come on. What's the very bottom line of a profit and loss statement? What does the bottom line of that document tell us?
How they're going to plan the future?
No, what did you say, sorry?
Negative balance.
Yes, whether we made a profit or a loss, right? So the very bottom line will say profit and loss. You know, you made £1 million profit, or we've managed to lose £12 million or something. Okay, so that's one way of looking at financial information. Okay, we're reporting on how we've performed financially. What do you think a triple bottom line might refer to? If a bottom line refers primarily to financial information, how else might organizations measure
Its value,
impact?
like
What kind of value?
for a
Right.
sports organization like football club, the stadium,
Okay.
what they can use
Assets.
as a
Okay. Good idea. Not quite. This week's a bit different because we're broadening out how we define what value means to an organization. So we're still talking about value, but we're not necessarily talking about financial value. Now we're talking about how do we measure value in other ways. So some of you might be quite pleased to know we're slightly moving away from money. Others might be a bit more disappointed, but we're going to be thinking about the role of CSR. What does CSR stand for? And what does that mean in practice for an organization, and how might that relate to a sports organization?
Giving back to the society in some way.
Good. Okay, so how the sports organization or the business gives back to society in some way. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll be able to understand the role of CSR in sport and how clubs engage in social initiatives. We're going to be able to explain how this relates to the triple bottom line, okay, and its relevance to sports governance. We'll be thinking about some ethical dilemmas. So I'm going to put you in the shoes of a CEO of a rugby club, and you've got some big decisions to make. We're going to be thinking about issues of ownership and sponsorship. A couple of real-life case studies that clubs have successfully implemented, and debate some of the trade-offs that we might have in terms of balancing financial performance and the importance of finance versus what we do in society and our broader role in society. So you look at triple bottom line, ethics of sport and finance, and then I've put some time aside at the end, so this lecture is perhaps a wee bit shorter than some of the others. So we'll have a break, and then I'm going to give you that time to work on your second assignments, and I'll be kicking around if you want to ask any questions. Okay, everyone happy with that? Yeah. Okay, so triple bottom line. What do you then think we're measuring when it comes to the triple bottom line? We said the first one is going to be about financial performance, and we know we're going to be talking about social responsibility, corporate social responsibility. What might the other two lines refer to, do you think?
HR?
Sorry?
Human resource management?
Yes. Yeah. So our social value, our obligations to staff, but also society. So our social value, what are we doing to help our employees, but also the broader community? What kind of work are we doing that brings them value? Yeah. So we've got financial social. What do you think our third line would refer to? Morning. What do you think our third line might refer to? There's no, I mean, there is a wrong answer, but don't feel afraid to shout out whatever you think. What kind of an impact would a business be conscious of having? It's becoming increasingly relevant
PR?
within today's society.
Public relations.
Public relations,
Not
yeah, could refer to that. How did some of you come to uni today?
Walking.
Walked?
Okay, so
Anyone take the bus?
yeah.
Anyone drove?
Environmental issues.
Environmental issues, yeah, exactly. So you can think about, if you're a sports organisation, what kind of impact are you having on the environment as well? So when people come and watch your team play, are they taking public transport as they go train links, or are they driving to the stadium? Actually, there's, when the team are traveling to play other teams, are they taking private jet? Are they using public transport? What kind of food are they serving? What's the environmental impact of that? So we're going to come and think about how organizations report on their environmental impact and their value in that sense as well. Okay, so the triple bottom line, as we said, people, planet, so that's the environment, and people is the social bit, prosperity is the financial aspect of it. So this is a framework which expands our traditional way of measuring how an organization might perform and goes beyond that financial performance to consider both their social and environmental impact as well. So the approach assesses a club's overall contribution across the three pillars. As we've said, we've got our people, which is our social impact, so the role of an organization in their community, the responsibility of staff, as you mentioned about HR, fans, local stakeholders, and their engagement in social development. So we're going to have a look at some examples of that later on. We've also got the planet. So here we're thinking about the environmental sustainability. So what efforts are clubs making and sports organizations making, to reduce their kind of carbon footprint, their CO2 emissions, manage waste and implement sustainable practices. And we're going to look at a couple of examples of clubs that are successfully going about becoming at least carbon neutral. And then we've got prosperity. So we're quite familiar with that now. We know what that refers to, which is how is the organization performing? Are they being responsible when it comes to finances? Are they acting sustainably from a financial perspective, and perhaps ethically as well? But we're going to consider perhaps some of these issues in terms of sponsorship and how they might refer to some of these other aspects as well. Okay, so we know about our economic performance. So traditional financial metrics, as I say, we won't spend long thinking about this, but here we know what we're going to get in our balance sheet. We know what we're going to get in our profit and loss statement. So that's ways of reporting our value in different ways, but we're going to think about all the different sources of revenue we've got here. So I won't tread over our ground here, but we're thinking about our sponsorship income, we're thinking about our broadcast rights and income, and we're thinking mainly about our gate receipts. So our social performance, this is where we're going to spend a bit of time talking today. So if you're a sports organisation, you'd be keen to try and demonstrate what your impact is within society. Lots of sports clubs do lots of good things. They might have a charitable arm which deliver lots of kind of initiatives and programs within their local community. So for sports organisations, social impact may involve different aspects of reporting. They might report on different aspects of what they're doing. So they might think about their engagement and participation rates. So if they were working in an area like London, which is very ethnically diverse, they might report upon how many people they're trying to engage from different backgrounds in their different programs. Perhaps they're hard to reach groups, we would call them perhaps, which are perhaps non-white British individuals. How are we engaging different people from different backgrounds to come and get involved in sport and participate in sport? We might think about our community outreach programs. So we might, again, try to think about how do we include different people within activities? Are there people that traditionally have been excluded from sport? Do we have a kind of a thriving women and girls section that, if it's football, that have been sort of traditionally excluded from football, and other aspects as well? We've got health and wellbeing initiatives. So we could report on programs that aimed at just getting people active and running around and moving. So here we might be thinking about things like walking football, or many clubs have got a program called Football Fans in Training, where they get them at the stadium and they're playing football in different ways, but the aim is to try and lose some weight. And contributions to education as well. So if there are kind of initiatives that organizations are running that perhaps try and use sport as a way to engage young people in education as well. Okay. So a short video here is how do we actually think about social value and how do we actually think about trying to measure it? Put it on there.
Whether it is intended or unintended, all of us every day create impact. Some of this may be positive, while some of this may be negative. But how do we know what impact is being created? And how do we ensure that what we are doing is creating a positive change? Social value is all about identifying the effects or impacts that people experience as a result of our activities. It also helps us to understand which of these changes or impacts are most important to the people experiencing them. Whether we work for social enterprises, impact investors, private business, public bodies, or any other form of organisation. By listening to stakeholders and understanding what is important to them, we are able to account for the value that we create. And by accounting for this value, we can ensure that our resources are effectively allocated to create more of the positive and less of the negative. By accounting for the social value that we create, we can amplify the voices of the people that we affect and make better decisions. Decisions that can help us achieve our personal and professional objectives, decisions that improve the lives of people, and decisions that can create a more sustainable and equitable world. Based on 8 key principles, Social Value International brings together members and partners from around the world, all with a shared ambition to change the way the world accounts value. Because we believe that together we can increase people's well-being, improve levels of equality, and create a more sustainable future for all.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is not that. Is how do we actually go about trying to attribute a value to what we're doing? So if we're running say we are, give me a Scottish sports. I always go to football, so give me a different sports club or organisation. Scottish Rugby, great. Scottish Rugby are wanting to do a leadership program for women. They want to try and get more women involved in coaching and managing rugby, right? But they have no idea. They've been running it for 3 years and they've spent £1 million in running these sessions, and perhaps 100 people have gone through the program so far. But the problem is they don't actually have a sense of whether that £1 million was well spent, and they don't really know what they're getting from the program. So there's hopefully going to be more women that are involved in coaching rugby and leadership roles within rugby, okay? But they've never actually spoken to those women to understand the benefit of that program to them, right? So social value would be about how do we actually try and attribute some social impact, some social value to that program, to that activity, to find out whether that's been a positive experience, and actually have there been any unintended consequences as a result of it? Have there been any negatives of running that program that perhaps we haven't thought about? So social value goes about how do we actually try and attribute a value to that activity? Was that £1 million spent a good use of money? And how can we improve it? So there's a saying that says if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So you have to try and measure things in a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to always be a financial way, but trying to measure it in a way that will allow you to improve it the next time you run it. Okay? Everyone kind of okay with that concept?
It is intended.
So social value of sport, so it reflects the importance of sport to individuals and communities. So whether that's going to be about physical and mental health and well-being, as we said, educational development, community spirit and cohesion, etc. So as we say, social value designed to understand, manage and report on the social, environmental and economic value created by an organisation. So some examples might include participation in sport, which enhances an individual's confidence. Okay, so you'd say, well, how do you go about measuring an individual's confidence, right? It's very hard to measure something that's going back to our balance sheet. That's an intangible. We can't touch somebody's confidence, right? So how do we go about measuring it? Well, we could ask them. We could have a conversation with them, and we could say, perhaps we would ask them before that leadership initiative we ran on rugby, Scottish rugby. We could say, how confident do you feel in coaching rugby? Okay, and then ask them at the end of the program and see if there's been a change within that. So thinking about how do we evaluate and measure some of the impacts that we're having. Living next to a community park provides an opportunity to exercise and enjoy nature. Okay, so that sounds like quite a simple thing, but actually if you were then to take that away and build houses on that park, how does that affect people? How do they then feel about that? What kind of an impact are we having? What kind of things are we taking away? It might be in this community park that lots of different sports teams play cricket or tennis. There could be a tennis court there. There could be five-a-side football there. Okay, if you could take that land away, what kind of an impact are you going to have? Maybe you want to build a training facility there, but you're taking all of that away from a local community. So in that instance, you'd be having a negative impact within the local community. And actually, there's actually probably quite a good example. And it was unfortunately West Ham United have done something similar. They have taken over a big community park. They bought it from the council. But in doing so, they've moved lots of local cricket clubs out of the way. Living next to a football stadium, what would be some of the impacts that we might have if we're a football club and we've got local residents? What kind of an impact do we think we might have here?
Noise pollution.
Noise pollution, good. Yep. Good. So it's going to be pretty noisy on a match day. Yeah. What else?
Traffic issues during match days.
Yeah, traffic issues, certainly.
Higher rent.
Higher rents, yeah. Yeah, it could be more expensive to live. Could be less expensive to live. Could be less desirable. Depends on the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What other impact do you think we would have if we've got 30,000 people coming?
And yeah, congestion, road congestion.
Road conditions, yeah.
No, congestion, I meant. Like more
Congestion, traffic.
Traffic, okay. Match day traffic, yeah. Waste, good, yeah. You got people littering in your garden, perhaps. Maybe weeing in your garden if the toilet facilities in the ground aren't all that good, or they've had too much beer. Yeah, okay. So there's going to be a lot of waste as well that we need to think about. So we need to think about our impact within the local community. We might have a positive impact as well. So what would be some of the good things that we could do if we were a football club in a local community?
Inclusiveness?
Yeah, we could run lots of programs to try and encourage more people to get active and play sport.
more job opportunities.
Could create some employment. Yeah. Could be opportunities to sell stuff on a match day that create employment.
The economic growth of the area because of tourism coming.
Yeah, good. So there could be a positive economic benefit to the area. If we've got 30,000 people, some of them live in the area, perhaps some people are commuting into the area, they're spending their money there that they would have spent somewhere else. Yeah. Good. So there's kind of a range of different social, environmental, financial impacts that we might have in this instance. We're going to emit carbon dioxide probably. Running organizations do that. Okay, so we need to think about what kind of an impact we're going to have here and how do we try and manage that? Do we try and manage that? I mean, some people would say climate change isn't real. So do we have any responsibility to that? Depends who you talk to, doesn't it? And then antisocial behavior of fans on match day, as we spoke about. So we think about actually these wouldn't be expressed in the same way that we'd think about financial value. Okay, so we're talking about financial value, we're talking about how much money did we make, how much money did we spend, right? When actually we're thinking about social value, we're thinking about all of these intangible things that perhaps we wouldn't typically have measured or tried to report upon. Yeah. So lots of organizations are going to have something called a theory of change. Now, we're not necessarily thinking about professional sports organizations here, like professional football clubs or professional rugby clubs, who primary objective is to win games, right? We're thinking more about charitable bodies here, or sports governing bodies like Scottish rugby or Scottish hockey or volleyball, etc. Okay, so what I want you to think about is how organizations make sure what they're doing actually has the impact that they want to have. So if we take that Scottish Rugby Leadership Programme, what are the things that we actually need to put into that programme and what are the things we actually want to generate as a result of that. Okay, so a theory of change allows us to try and map out the impact that we're going to have. So I want to give you a shot at doing this. Okay, so a theory of change, essentially a comprehensive description, illustration of how and why a desired change is expected to happen in a particular context. So if we were doing our Scottish Rugby leadership course, what are our inputs here? What are the things that we would need to put into that program? And what are the things we would want to get out of it? So what would we need to put in? We want to deliver 10 sessions for women in Scotland to help them become better coaches and better leaders. What are our inputs? Materials. What kind of materials?
Experienced people to guide them.
Okay, good.
Experienced people
Experienced people
to guide them.
to guide them. So an input here would be finance to pay for coach leaders. Yep. Materials. What materials?
Equipment.
Equipment. What equipment?
Training.
Sports goods.
Sports goods. We're going to give them some rugby balls, some training resources, manuals. Yeah. What else? Where are they going to do the training?
The ground.
We need to pay for rent of the pitch, or we need to make sure we've got provision of the pitch. Yeah.
Pay for the marketing so that people get to know.
Good. We're going to pay for the marketing. Okay, good. So as a result of those inputs, what are our outputs? What does paying for that stuff and providing that stuff allow us to do?
You get a qualified person, like the one who gets knowledge.
Okay, so there's a step before that. So that's right, but that's actually an outcome.
Oh, okay.
So our outputs is a step before that. And this is quite hard to think about. But those are our inputs. What are those inputs going to allow us to do?
People get to use the ground. That's an output.
Yes. Yeah. With
And the
what for what?
equipment-
Sorry?
The equipment in the ground, people get to use it. That's
Yeah.
an output.
That yeah.
And the outcome would be they are able to generate a professional player or professional coaches or whatever.
The outcomes would be they would have more qualified coaches. The outputs,
Engagement.
not quite. So this is it's quite hard to think about, but think about actually those inputs are going to allow us to put on the coaching sessions and the training qualifications. So that's the outcome. The output. The output, and then the outcome is more qualified coaches, right? So I'm going to get you to have a think about this. So the City of Edinburgh Council is going to invest 7% of its transport budget on cycling. Okay, what do you think are the inputs, the outputs, and the outcomes of doing that? Write it down, have a think, perhaps try and write it down and try and think about what are the different inputs, outputs, and outcomes as a result of this.
Asking to tell not to because when skip the side issue. What is the What were they?
Okay, how are we getting on? Something? Got something written down? Yeah. Give you another couple of minutes just to make sure. So thinking about the different steps that would be involved in here. Our inputs, our outputs, our outcomes. All right. Another minute. Okay, let's go for it. So what do you think our inputs would be here? Obviously, we've got our 7%, but what is that going to allow us to do?
More cycle shops.
Yeah, shops, okay, potentially. Cycling paths, good. Yeah, it's going to allow us to build more cycling paths.
Parking stations.
Parking stations, potentially, good, to make it more friendly. Yeah.
Source code planning and implement.
Okay, so somebody to plan it
Yeah.
and develop it.
Yeah.
When we were building our paths, what do we actually need? So yes, we're going to build the paths.
Raw
but
material.
the raw materials, good. That's a cost. Yeah, we're going to have to pay for the cost. That's an input.
Marketing.
Marketing to promote the initiative. Yep. Any other costs you can think of here? Quite a big project, right?
The cycles themselves.
Yeah, maybe we're going to provide more bikes like we've got in Sterling, you know, the
Santander.
Santander ones. Yeah, yeah. Do any of you live in Lions Crescent, by the way?
We all do. Yeah.
You all live in Lions
Almost.
Crescent? When I was driving past yesterday, I saw a big football match of international students on the pitch, you know, over the road.
I think.
It was us.
It was
Day
you.
before yesterday.
You all look very good. Oh, it was. It was Tuesday. You're right. Sorry. Yeah, it was
well,
Tuesday. Tuesday.
That's all of us.
Next time I'll come. I'll come and watch. I'll scout. Okay. So yeah. So there are our inputs. Yeah. What else? Okay. So what's our outputs then? So we're putting all of those different things. We're putting the cost of paying somebody to design it, putting the raw materials and the cost associated with that. Buying the bikes, yeah, we're buying the places that we can park the bikes, stop the bikes, leave the bikes. What are the outputs as a result of that?
Let's see also.
You've gone to the outcomes.
Okay.
You've skipped ahead.
Run more cycling related events.
Good. Okay, so perhaps more people cycling. Yep.
Accessibility of city.
Sorry.
Increasability of city.
Yes.
Yeah.
So accessibility. Good. Yep.
People buying the cycles.
More people buying bikes.
Yeah.
Good.
Fitter population.
Say it again.
Like fit population. Or
No,
Feet
that's not-
population.
Yeah, physically fit.
physical.
Fit. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, fit. Yeah, so more.
Fraction.
But you've gone to the outcomes again.
Yeah.
So you're skipping ahead a step. So what does doing those material? There's a step. You're too far ahead. You're too advanced, if anything. There's a step before that we need to think about. So our outputs.
Recycling, roads.
Shapir has something
Good.
to
We're
say.
going to have more cycle path, right? We're
Yeah.
going to have, as a result of it, we're going to have more cycle path. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. What else? So we've
else,
got more
Shapir?
cycle path. What is that actually going to allow people to think or feel about cycling?
They get
Very
an
big.
awareness.
Sorry, say it again.
They get an awareness.
More awareness, good. Safety, which is going to allow them to feel more confident, essentially, in cycling, right? Good. Okay. So our outputs, more cycle path. People feel more confident to cycle, and then this is where you come in. Our outcomes. What are we thinking here? So we've got we've got our inputs. Sorry. So people designing and building bike paths. That's going to be a cost. The cost of material. People promoting bike paths use. So we spoke about marketing. Our outputs: more kilometers of bike paths, enhanced visibility and awareness of bike paths, more promotion. And then what is the meaningful change here? So what is the actual change that is going to happen as a result of it? This is where the outcomes come in.
Yeah.
What are we thinking?
Economic benefit of low emission.
Low emissions, so lower CO2 emissions,
Accessibility.
accessibility,
Mental peace.
mental peace, yes, improved mental health if people are exercising more. What was, come on, you have some good ones. What were some of the others?
Well, they've been answered already.
Physically fit, people more physically fit as a result. Okay, so we might look at it like this. So our cycle path investment increases the amount of cycling. They're going to get some recreational cyclists. We're going to have some that are commuting to work more often. People might do it for sport as well. Who are these people? Well, people of all ages cycle, don't they? Yeah. But why are they going to do it? They're going to gain confidence and competence. They're going to become more active. It's going to improve the health, improve the confidence, reduce congestion on the roads, and there's going to be environmental benefits. Okay, so that is how an organization can map out different initiatives and try to see actually what is the change that's going to happen here. So it's not just, right, we're going to do this and we hope this is going to happen. A theory of change actually allows you to map out what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to try it again. So this time is Active Stirling. So the local council, the charitable arm of the local council, they want to put some daytime swimming lessons on for schools during term time using qualified instructors provided by Active Stirling. So what are our inputs, what are our outputs, and what are our outcomes going to be as a result of this? I'll give you a couple of minutes.
Thank you. Sorry, bro. I'm a scholar, bro. Okay, okay. Bro, what are you talking about? Bro, what are you talking about? That's why I said bade dimag. Bade dimag. Like, I didn't think this was.
Okay, so we've got our swimming lessons during term time. What are our inputs, our outputs, and our outcomes? What do we think the inputs are going to be here?
Fees for the instructor.
Sorry?
Fees for the instructor.
Yeah, we need to pay the instructors, good. So we've got instructors,
Schedule for different coaches.
different coaches.
Yeah. I mean the time slot for different coaches.
Right, okay. Yes, so what the time slots?
So maybe some guy will take up on Monday, the other guy will come on Tuesday or something.
Okay.
More like a rotational basis.
Yeah, all right, okay. What's the other thing though? Instructors, and you've kind of said it, but
Rent
rent or
Managing the time
and
slot.
like
facility hire.
Yeah.
Full time.
Yeah.
Booking the time slot.
Full time, yeah, good. Okay. So there are two main inputs, right? We're going to need coaches and we're going to need full time, right? What are our outputs as a result of this? Good. So we're going to be putting on more sessions.
Participation.
Yeah, good. So then our outcomes, what are our outcomes going to be as a result?
Everybody gets this with this.
Everyone's going to be able to swim. Great. Yeah. What else?
More
What-
representation in inter-college events.
Okay.
And
Fitness with
getting to host events as well.
Yeah. So think about our who, what, why. So who would our who be within this?
the students.
The students, the kids
So
themselves,
they
right?
get inspired to become a professional athlete.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But even if it's just they feel more confident swimming and they're able to swim, there's obviously health benefits attached to that. Good. Health and safety as well. You never know if you might need to be able to swim. What is going to change? Confidence. Physical. Good. Yeah. Good. And the why? Always the trickiest bit. So we've got our pool time, instructors as our inputs, which you mentioned. Our outputs, increased number of sessions, number of students, number of contact hours. Our outputs, the meaningful change here is going to be our kids. What is going to change their confidence and why? Because they've got increased pool time, increased session access to qualified coaches and instructors. Yeah. Good. Okay. So we can think here about how we would look at this from a social value perspective. So the daytime swimming lessons are run for schools during term time using qualified coaches provided by Stirling Leisure, Active Stirling. Our primary outcome, improved health through taking part in exercise through swimming. Okay. Secondary, longer term outcomes, going to encourage a long life, healthy lifestyle through participating in exercise through sport. The beneficiaries here are going to be the participants themselves, but the NHS. Why the NHS? What is the NHS? Sorry, I should have. It's the National Health Service in the UK. So why would the NHS benefit from us putting on some free swimming lessons for kids?
Because everyone gets more physically active.
Good. So everyone gets more physically active, which means?
So less hospital expenses.
Yeah, good. So hopefully less reliance on the NHS later down the line, which is why in the UK there's a lot of investment in sport from the government, because the aim is if people are healthy for longer in life, we'll be less reliant on the NHS later down the line. But maybe they need a theory of change because the NHS is very clogged up at the moment. So there's never any spare beds and there's all sorts of issues with it. But in theory, that's probably what they're thinking. That is their theory of change, right? We have an aging population. There's all sorts of different explanations. Right. So schools would otherwise pay commercial rates, achieve a saving, as Active Stirling rates are lower than commercial providers. I've changed it from West Lothian. So better use of West Lothian council funds by efficiently using existing swimming pool rather than building new pools specifically for individual schools. And the benefits are going to be the government because they're spending less money, and the council as well. Oops. So again, get you to think a little bit about. Yes, come on. Okay, never mind. Okay. So we can try and use this, and when we're thinking about sports organisations more broadly. So this was a piece of research by an organisation called Substance, who wanted to try and understand the social value of football clubs. So what actually do football clubs do for people, right? We think that football clubs are good, but actually is there any evidence to support that they are positive things? We think about our different stakeholders and what the outcomes might be. So we've got an owner of a club. Okay, the input from the owner might be the finance that they provide. We spoke about equity and bits and pieces previously. The activities that the owner will make will be about making decisions around the board and perhaps managerial decisions. The output, well, they want to try and win trophies. They might get financial remuneration if they are taking dividends from the club, and the outcome is perhaps status if they win trophies, or if there's about financial benefit, then they might have just increased disposable income. When we think about the supporters, what is the value of a football club to a supporter? Well, the inputs, they go and pay for tickets, they go and buy the merchandise. The activity they undertake is supporting the team, so watching the matches. The output of that, they might have positive or negative feelings from a result of that. And the outcome is increased self-confidence, potentially. If they're spending time with family or friends, they're perhaps socializing with people. There's lots of research during lockdown and COVID around when fans couldn't go to stadiums, that people spoke about being very isolated, and actually going to the football was their way of interacting with other people. So there's all sorts of benefits in terms of having clubs and getting people to interact with others. And then the local community itself. So the time invested there, community activities, they might run qualifications from the community activities. So the output would be more kids playing football, And then the outcome would be the higher educational performance or community cohesion, depending on the type of community activity they're running. So we can try and think about organizations, not just specific activities. Okay. And then one of the things that we need to think about in terms of when we're trying to do these things, sometimes we'll try and attribute a financial value to a social activity. And we're going to come on to that in a second. But what we're trying to do here is not necessarily, we are trying to put a value on an outcome, and we're trying to assign a monetary value. So we're trying to think about activities and benefits and values in a financial sense, okay, to things that do not have a market price or value. But the market value is not a true or real value as mechanisms of price discovery. So what do we mean by that? So if we take our swimming class as example, how might we try and attribute a monetary value to running that activity? How do you think we could go about thinking about our outcomes of the kids getting more pool time? How might we get a financial value? How might we go about trying to say, okay, well, we saw how much we invested in that program. We paid for the pool time and we paid for the coaches. That cost us £100,000 to run it for a year. Okay. How do we then try and work out whether that has been a good use of £100,000 when there's no financial return as a result of it? What aspects could we try and attribute a financial value to?
The increased participation and all those things.
Yep, good. And how do we try and put a financial value on that? Think about who our beneficiaries were at the end there. The kids and
The parents, and
could be the parents as well.
also the facility gets more, I don't know, more exposed to the kids.
Okay, yeah.
Status of the organization if they produce like good swimmers.
Yep. Okay, maybe. Yeah. We spoke about the NHS as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we can work out that actually by swimming and being able to swim, okay, people are on average X% healthier and less reliant on the NHS, we can work out how much time they might have had to spend with the NHS, which would have cost the government X amount because it's free healthcare in the UK. And we can then say, as a result of that, it's actually saved us, for every £1 we spent on that program, it's saved us £10 because later down the line, they're not going to be using the NHS. Okay. So we're not going to have to pay for them later on in life, but as a result of them being healthier and more active now. Right. So we can try and work out what that social return on investment is going to be. So how do we actually go about trying to work out what some of these values might be? So let's take a stakeholder. We've got somebody with a mental health problem. Okay, the outcome hopefully would be improvement in mental health, the program that we're running. The indicator that they have got improved mental health would be perhaps they're spending more time socializing, the extent to which participants engage in new activities, so maybe they're trying new things, they're going out and exploring new things, and the level of use of mental health services. And the possible ways we could try and go about measuring that impact of that program would be the cost of the membership to a social club network, percentage of income normally spent on leisure, and the cost of counselling sessions. So if they're less likely to use some of these things, okay, then the program's been positive, okay, because there's going to be less cost later down the line. Okay. And we've got some principles as well, though. So when we're trying to work out these reports and do these evaluations, there's certain principles that we probably need to abide by. So you can imagine an organization would perhaps want to try and find out how much their activities and values are worth. Why might an organization be keen to try and demonstrate their social return on investment? What would be the incentive for them to do that from a cynical perspective, but also a positive perspective? What would be the positive thing that an organization would want to do, why they would want to try and do a social return on investment report and do that research to understand their impact?
To save their reputation.
Yeah, be good for their reputation. What will it allow them to do if they've measured something and monitor it? If they've measured it and monitored it, they can find out how to improve it, right? If they've measured it and they've worked out what are the good things about the program, what actually is successful, does the theory of change work, then they can go about improving it a second time round, right? If they were being a bit cynical about it, why would they want to do it? So kind of related to your point there about their reputation. What the kind of charitable bodies and third sector organizations need. Funding, yeah. So having a report like this can say to a funder, if you give us X amount of money, we can actually save the society X amount of pounds. So it's important that the people that actually produce these reports do it with integrity and they don't overestimate or inflate the impact that organizations are having, okay? So a few principles we need to think about. We've got to involve our stakeholders within this. So our stakeholders are going to be the people that we're working with, our beneficiaries, etc. We need to understand what changes as a result. We need to value the things that matter. Only include what is material and do not overclaim. So don't try and say that our activities are life-changing and participants are, so much better off as a result of attending our activities. We need to be transparent as well. So we need to actually show what are the negative things that might happen as a result of our activity and verify the results. So perhaps involve other people in terms of looking at those results and making sure that they're accurate. Okay. So this is from UEFA, and this is about their social return on investment model.
Society. Physical inactivity costs EU countries 80 billion euros every year. But did you know that every amateur football player in Europe helps reduce that cost and adds value to the economy? Everything starts from the local club. Pitches need to be built, footballs, boots and jerseys to be bought, coaches to be paid. Volunteers contribute precious hours of their time. In turn, playing football regularly meets the requirements for healthy physical activity. Science shows that active people are less at risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and mental health problems. The savings to society are enormous. More than any other sport, football impacts those at risk in society, provides healthy activity at a crucial time. It teaches respect and discipline. It saves society on costs associated with crime and unemployment. Team sports fuel improvement in academic achievement, generating increased productivity and GDP growth. They also contribute to greater self-respect and confidence, particularly amongst girls, enabling them to have more control over their lives. The football family crosses gender, colour, ethnicity, language and religious boundaries. It enables a network of volunteers and paid staff that provides a valuable service to communities, making them richer. Football creates value for all of us, and for the first time, we can put figures on it. Welcome to the UEFA Grow Social Return on Investment model.
Okay, so as you see,
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need.
So we're now trying to attribute financial value to our social activities, and some countries, you can have a look here at how much it is worth to those countries in terms of kind of grassroots participation in football. Okay.
It's safe.
And we can do this in other sports as well. So Sport England commissioned the Sport Industry Research Centre at Sheffield Hallam University to calculate the social impact and economic importance of sport and physical activity in England. They found that when measured against costs of engagement and providing opportunities, every £1 spent on community sport and physical activity, a return on investment of £3.91 was created for individuals and society. So that is probably a good incentive for the government to invest more in sport, because we're actually saying we're going to get more than we put into the sport in terms of the benefits and outcomes. Okay. Furthermore, the combined economic and social value, so actually if we consider the actual financial value itself of taking part in community sport and physical activity, was £85.5 billion in 2017-2018. We can have a look at how some of these different organisations actually report upon their social value. So this is Basketball Scotland, and they're looking at how many different types of people are actually engaging in their activity. So they've done a participant profile of people playing basketball, and they are actually showing, as a result of their activities, in year one they had 151 female participants. In year two they had 553. So they're actually going into the demographics of the individuals, and they're trying to show and evidence how they're reaching people that perhaps wouldn't have been able to access basketball in Scotland. Okay, they're trying to look at this is in relation into their Schools of Basketballs program. They're looking at their different outcomes, whether or not they actually managed to meet the targets. And they've used some of those principles that we looked at before. They're being transparent about it. They're saying actually they met most of the targets, but in terms of attendance and attainment, that wasn't an outcome that they were able to meet. Okay, so actually they haven't overestimated their importance. They've been transparent about it. And in terms of the 3 indicators they had for learning and employability, they met 2 out of the 3. This is going back to that research we looked at before, the social return on investment from Sheffield Hallam. And again, we're looking at our inputs and outcomes here. So our inputs would be the public sector investment of £2.4 billion in sport and physical activity. The participants, 13.7 billion pounds that participants are actually paying to participate in sport, and the volunteers, which is worth around 5.7 billion pounds. And as a result of that, these were the outcomes. So the combined income inputs were 21 billion, and the combined outcomes were 71 billion. Okay, so huge investment return on the investment that people are paying within sport. Won't watch this now, but we have a partnership with Falkirk Foundation, and they have got their own social return on investment report that they did with that UEFA program that the video was from. It's on Canvas if you want to have a watch. But actually, theirs suggested that for every £1 they generated £20 in social value. So huge incentive perhaps to funders to want to give them funding because they're so efficient at using that money. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, guys. Okay. So I'm actually going to turn the volume down. It's quite loud, isn't it? We can think about different clubs as well that are not necessarily about community charitable objectives, but actually football clubs themselves, the main competitive organisation itself. Okay, and this is a club called Lewes FC, and they are a community-owned club. So in theory, any one of us could go and become a member and run for the board and vote in the AGM, right? They became a pioneering club because a few years ago they said that they wanted to pay their women's team the same amount as they paid their men's team. So you're probably aware that there's a big disparity between men and women's football in terms of pay. But Lewes FC said that they wanted to give their women's team the exact same budget as their men's team. Okay, so a little case study in terms of their social impact.
Lewes is a perfect example of what a football club can achieve if it is prepared to embrace all the different elements of their local community.
I'm grateful to be with you tonight because you are the people that will transform the world.
This is a movement that we want to start here, a little Lewes.
All gender disparities.
That's radical. It shouldn't be radical, but it is.
It's got to start somewhere, and I think we're just proving that it can be done.
Get your balls, grab your friends, and get to the game.
This isn't about accepting the status quo. It's about trying to do football differently.
If it happens on the football pitch in one country, it can happen anywhere in the world, and women can be seen as equal from here on out.
It has got a very different culture and a set of very different conversations taking place.
One of the players heard the fans saying homophobic, so he just went and spoke to the referee and just said, no, I'm not having that.
A lot of footballers aren't necessarily against change. You almost need a club to set the standard.
Football is for all, and the belonging in that, inclusion, all those kind of buzzwords. This is the reality of it.
Okay, so they're obviously thinking about they're thinking about their social value as an organisation and what they can do to improve gender inequality. Okay, so different clubs might choose to report on different social outcomes or have a different social focus. So thinking about our social values, some of the strengths and weaknesses of this. So if we think about our strengths, we've got accountability. So we're actually being honest with ourselves and saying this is the value of what we've done. We're trying to plan. We're monitoring and evaluating. If we do that, we can actually improve what we're doing. Cost and time effectiveness, and simplicity as well. So if we're actually being able to attribute a financial value to it, it's quite simple. People can understand that rather than saying an intangible thing like improved confidence. Well, what does that actually mean in terms of the financial value when we're trying to measure that? Weaknesses of trying to do this, though, it's quite difficult to unravel social performance. So how do we actually try and get an accurate sense of how somebody feels, and how do we try and put a financial value on that? It's very difficult. Actually, is there something wrong with trying to monetize everything? We think very much in terms of this costs this and we'll get this return, but actually maybe we shouldn't be trying to monetize everything. Sometimes things are just good or bad, and maybe that's okay. We can just leave it like that. Overemphasis, as we said, there would be an incentive to try and show that you can do overperform with money that you're given, because you'll be more likely to receive more of it. Benefits can't always be monetized as well, so quite tricky to think about some of those intangible things. How do we actually monetize that? Outcome not easily associated with monetary value. The value can be destroyed, or social costs must be included. So actually we can think about if we have negative impact, perhaps we start a program and people start coming to it, but actually there was already a program in the community and people stop going to that. So we need to think about the impact that we're having on some of those things, and capacity as well. Okay, so we looked at people. Let's have a look at the environment. Okay, so this involves assessing organizations' impact on the environment and efforts to reduce its carbon footprint and ecological footprint. So environmental performance reporting may include how much energy that we've used. So thinking about energy usage within facilities such as stadiums and training centers, and any efforts to reduce energy consumption through efficiency measures and renewable energy sources. You might think about our waste management. If you think about the number of people that would go to a cricket game and get a beer or something, you might have all this plastic waste that's created as a result of that. Okay, so reporting on waste generation, any recycling programs that the organization runs, efforts to minimize waste through sustainable practices such as composting and waste reduction initiatives. Might think about our water usage. Sounds like quite a simple thing, but you can imagine all these pitches need to be watered and maintained. So we're probably using a lot of water within these facilities. So what efforts are organizations making to conserve water through efficiency measures and water saving technology? And then finally, and probably our biggest one, is our carbon emissions. So how much CO2 are we actually producing as a result of running a football club or a cricket team or a rugby team that are competing in different tournaments around the world? Yeah. But we can go about reporting on it and trying to show what we're doing. So as well as having significant social and economic impacts, sport has many environmental impacts. So the ecological footprint is considerable, but environmental impacts of sport have received relatively little attention. This is an organization called the Sustainability Report, and they comment a lot on sports work within environmental issues and what sports organizations are doing around this. And they've done some research here, which is probably worth checking out. Something which might pique your interest, the Premier League, BBC, have run a report on how environmentally sustainable different organisations or different football teams are in the Premier League, and created a rankings. Everyone quite likes a table and a rankings. It kind of piques people's interest. Go, oh, where's my team in that? We won't ignore West Ham. They're just towards the bottom somewhere. But well done to Liverpool towards the top there. Yeah. Well, sorry?
I mean,
yeah.
At least they got the trophy.
So quiet.
Yeah, well, they're just going about their business. You know, that's fine. You just let them potter along.
Lesser score than their position.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might be 16th in the table. Never mind, doesn't matter. Right, so we've got Liverpool. Yeah, they're doing very well, and Tottenham as well. And these are all the different things that they're actually looking at to create that score that they've got there. So what's their policy around it? Do they use clean energy? What about the energy efficiency that they're using? Sustainable transport, single-use plastic reduction, waste efficiency, water efficiency, plant-based low-carbon food, biodiversity, education, communication engagement, and sourcing and procurement. So actually, when they're getting these things, are they getting them from reputable third parties? Okay.
I mean, who's evaluating?
So this was the BBC.
So it's official,
yeah.
Like it's been mention it? Like, suppose for our assignment, like, if you wanted to.
Yes, if you
we
wanted
could
to.
something like
Yeah. Have a look on the BBC website. This was a couple of years ago, so if you look on the BBC for Premier League sustainability rankings, yeah, you'd be able to mention that if you wanted to. Yeah. Okay, and our case study isn't a team in the Premier League at all. It's a club called Forest Green Rovers. Has anyone heard of Forest Green Rovers? No? So a few years ago, they were bought by a guy called Vince Dale, who owns Electricity. It's a company that provide green energy, and they got lots of charging points all over the country for cars, EV cars. Okay, and he wanted to try and make them the greenest club in the world. I don't know if he bought the club because they were called Forest Green, or whether they were just a good club to buy. I suspect it was because they were called Forest Green, but it'd be interesting to find that out. Anyway, so he's tried to completely develop that club and make it the most environmentally sustainable football club in the world. Okay, and they started reporting on all sorts of different aspects to do with their environmental impact. So they've broken it down into different aspects, and they've measured their impact over time as well. And this is using the United Nations commitment to reducing their carbon footprint by 2030. And they are building a new stadium called the Eco Park Stadium, which we can have a look at.
So, like, the benefit of that would be, like, they'll get more funding from...
Potentially, but they just it's a good thing to do. That's one of their kind of core social purposes, is to have an environmental impact. The owner's very passionate about it. But you can imagine if you were particularly motivated and passionate about the environment, that actually if you were looking for a team to support, you might become a fan of Forest Green Rovers. So they have a lot of fans around the world that are vegetarian and vegan. So they've created a fan base through their uniqueness, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So there are benefits like that.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be research available in terms of the fan base that has been created as a result of them being their objective to become the greenest club in the world. Yeah. So they are the most environmentally friendly club in the English Football League, so below the Premier League. Okay.
The football team in the United bringing eco-thinking and technology to a new and large audience, football fans. In 2010, the Forest Green Rovers began its journey to become the world's first climate-neutral football club. It has been described by FIFA as the world's greenest football club.
If you look at your energy, transport, food, the decisions you make every day, 80% of all of your carbon emissions and causes of climate change are in those three things. And we show that here at the football club. Our pitch is organic. We've got solar panels on the roof. We've got car charging points out the front. And, of course, we have a vegan match day menu for all of our fans and staff and for our players as well.
People might look down at vegan food, but as soon as you give them a bit to try, then they'll completely change their mind, you know?
I think it was just over 2 years ago at half time. I stood downstairs, and on the wall there's this sort of information about the environmental impact of food and what you eat. And so I went away, tried it, decided it at half time in the game, and never looked back really. Last season I made my support for club carbon neutral by working out how many miles I'd driven as well and offset at the end of that. So I think it's made some big changes to kind of how I live, I guess.
At Forest Green Rovers, we are staying away from chemicals. All of the water comes from the rainwater through the pitch, which we recycle. We're trying to power everything electric, which is what powers our robot. It doesn't collect the grass, it just takes a couple of mil off the top, and that will then drop back into the ground, which will then feed the microbes underneath. Other clubs, bigger top league clubs, groundsmen, are doing the similar things, and they're actually finding it's working. But again, you need to be a little bit braver to try different things.
Okay, so anyone be a Forest Green Rovers fan, do you think, off the back of this? Are any of you vegetarian or vegan? No. But does that appeal to you? Do you think that's quite a compelling narrative that they're creating there about what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it? Yeah. So there's aspect to that I think is quite compelling in terms of what they're trying to do. And I know that they have generated a kind of a big fan base on the back of it as well. Okay, so some issues. So, social, societal issues as well. We've got a couple of things here that are probably worth touching upon. So it's not all rosy. We've got an issue of sports washing potentially. So a term that's often used to describe how ownership or sponsorship of events might detract from or deflect from criticism or controversy. Increasingly relevant issue in global football, particularly through ownership of clubs by states or politically connected billionaires and the involvement of environmentally controversial companies in sponsorship deals. So if we think of Gazprom, they were sponsoring UEFA a few years ago. Gazprom are the energy arm of the Russian state, okay? And following their invasion of Ukraine, UEFA severed ties with Gazprom, making it one of the most significantly political interventions in football sponsorship history, okay? So there's all sorts of issues around sponsorship and endorsements of kind of countries. We can think about when Russia hosted the World Cup as well, how that would have been an act of sports washing to some extent, and also when they held the Winter Olympics a few years ago as well. We've got greenwashing as well, kind of similar, but this is how companies will try and create a green picture of themselves through sport, so associating themselves with sport to create a positive image of themselves and perhaps detract from some of the negative aspects of it. Whose logo is this in the background? What do you think they are trying to achieve here by sponsoring golf? And what stands out to you about that?
Yeah, a petroleum company that kind of contradicts with what they're doing to the environment.
Yeah, good. So they obviously have quite a negative impact on the environment. Why have that? What's quite clever about what they've done here, do you think?
They try to show the environmental concern by like designing the flowers or grass in their logo color.
Yeah, so the use of flowers to sort of make up the emblem is quite clever because you're sort of associating it with being green, environmentally friendly. Why is golf quite a good one to pick as well in terms of sport?
The vehicles aren't used.
Yeah, no vehicles used.
No
other than the
pollution,
the buggies, but they're probably electric. Yeah.
Are they like? Is it fulfilling the purpose? Is it successfully?
Is it working?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
But
don't
they're
know.
trying to do something, right? Yeah.
Right. I don't. It's a good question. But it's probably worth asking you as well. Do you think it works? Do you think
Doesn't seem.
No, because you all said that you all knew it was Shell, and you all knew that it was an oil company, and you all have that association with it. Yeah. Okay.
They might be just reaching too far.
Maybe. So the golf, good one because there's just lots of greenery, isn't there? It's a
Yeah.
very green sport, right? So by having that association, you
Maybe
can
subconsciously. they're trying
subconsciously
to-
thinking about. Yeah. So we've also got this one here. So major climate polluters accused of greenwashing with sports sponsorship. So number of different study reveals more than 250 advertising and sponsorship deals between some of the biggest corporate polluters and leading sports teams and organizations. Okay. So greenwashing, another issue that we need to be aware of at least. Okay, so we're going to have a bit of discussion. So do you think sport is inherently good? Let's have a discussion. So we can go to our Mentimeter. Oh.
So, like when, like say the Ineos were sponsoring the cyclists.
Yeah.
So for them, it's that sponsorship is a worthwhile investment because having a good image brings in more money in the future, something like that.
So and it's something we'll look at in sports marketing and management next semester. But yeah, sponsorship is an interesting one. And does it work? And how do you actually measure? A bit like what we're doing here with social return, but actually when we're sponsoring an event, how do we measure the effectiveness of that? But it's a good question.
Yeah, like I was just thinking in terms of the assignment.
Yeah.
You mentioned talking about value of the beyond just
the financial
financial document.
Yeah.
So then today's class might be something worth.
It could be useful. Could be useful. Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, is sport inherently good? Inherently being like fundamentally, is sport fundamentally good?
No, it's just a survey.
Yeah, it's not a multiple choice. It's well, it is, but there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, that's interesting. Why do we think sport is inherently good or fundamentally good?
More social outcomes, like people gather together, people get to know, more socialize.
Okay, so social aspect of it.
Yep.
Okay, so sport brings people together. Discipline, yeah. Life skills. Why do you look away like that? Like you weren't right. Yeah, discipline, life skills. Good.
More health benefits.
Health benefits, so physical activity, teamwork. Yeah.
Leadership quality.
Sorry. Leadership. Yeah. Social development. Good. Okay. So you don't think there's anything negative associated with sport? No negatives that you can think of. Sport is just 100% positive.
So in terms of business, there may be a lot of negatives like corruption or whatever, betting.
I mean, betting sponsors that.
Okay. So, what are some of the positives that sport provides? You said that. I think we can skip off. We've spoken through that. What are some of the negatives that sports provides?
Biasness.
Oh yeah, put it on your phone. Stick it on the.
That's not a word.
Bias.
Yeah, just bias.
Okay, we've got some good stuff here. So injuries. So yep, think about American football where there's a lot of concussion, or rugby or boxing where there's a lot of head injuries, head trauma. What about bias? What do we mean by bias?
Or like a favorism, like if you have a contact with someone big in the sports, you get to play in this team or something like that.
Okay, so sort of corruption potentially, or
not necessarily corruption. Yeah, I don't. Kind of
like favoritism or nepotism. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so negative branding like promoting gambling, goods, corruption, sports betting, pollution, physical health risks, jealousy, gambling, sports washing, time critical injuries. Yep, too many luxuries. What do we mean too many luxuries? I mean the players are paid too well.
Yeah,
paid too well, and it creates an unhealthy lifestyle. Yeah. Negative impacts in terms of gambling and alcohol addiction through sponsorship. Okay. Mental health challenges and energy consumption. Good.
I mean,
okay.
That's not a negative, right? Mental health.
It could be. So if you think about if you've not played well, you might get a lot of social media criticism, which is going to be quite detrimental to your mental health. Yeah. And electricity consumption. Okay, good. These are all things. But you all said it was inherently good. So
the concept of sports is good, but the way they are taking advantage of all these things is a negative impact.
So you think fundamentally, at the core, it's a good thing, but there's lots of negatives. Okay. Okay. Is it acceptable for clubs or governing sponsors or bodies, to accept funding from controversial sponsors?
Voted.
Yeah, it depends.
No, it never depends. It's a very diplomatic response.
That question itself is diplomatic.
Who put yes?
Okay, so it depends. What do we mean by that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Whole word it depends answer.
Explain yourselves, guys.
Explain yourselves, exactly. What do we mean by it depends? What does it depend on?
Like if the club is at the lowest point and if they need some sort of like marketing strategy, they
Okay.
can get a controversial sponsor that can attain more like marketing or
Okay, so let's say it's West Ham, right? Struggling, fighting relegation. Okay, they need some money to buy a new striker, and Gazprom from Russia offer them £30 million to sponsor them. So do you think in that instance it's okay? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just.
I mean, if someone is seeing this as a business, they will probably take it.
Yeah.
Like, they will just only look for the profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in the golf case,
Mbappe,
Vinicius,
they
they
didn't
didn't
want
want
like,
Bro, you're out of the
That's
Champions
shall-
League.
Yeah.
Just
so
cry.
what?
Cry.
Shut your mouth.
It took 10 years to do this.
All ours become Liverpool.
It's defense.
This is good, healthy debate. Right. Sorry. What were you saying? You were saying in the
Yeah.
space
They're
of
out of
shock.
the job.
Yeah,
Crying from last week.
for the public,
Yeah.
is there a controversy
Your
for the
word
shell
against
company
mine.
to tie up with the golf?
Yeah.
But they did.
Yeah.
Eventually, they did.
They
so,
did. Yeah.
So it depends.
So it depends.
I think people tend to forget all this stuff. They get too immersed in the sports and don't bother about the.
Yeah.
That's
No,
why
it's
it
true.
has to be no,
Yeah.
not the other two. Like.
Okay. So, who said no? Just no. 5 people said no. Who else?
Yeah, 4 others.
Who else said no? Why no?
Exactly like when you think about the club, right?
Mhm.
You're not thinking about a broader context.
Mm-hmm.
Like say you have West Ham, Liverpool, another club.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about too passionate about our club, it's just too small scale. The sort of thinking like that's why like if you're thinking from a broader perspective, we always have to think in a more broader perspective. So
if
and
you
controversial sponsors and a more famous club can have a bigger reach.
Okay.
So it's they can have like a more impact.
So for bigger clubs, it's okay. It's less okay.
Yeah, I mean it is less if they get more publicity, then it's very bad, right? For
Okay.
that to have controversial sponsors.
Okay. So smaller clubs could take it because they won't get as much publicity.
Still no, but the impact is lesser.
Okay, I see what you mean. So there's less detrimental impact. Okay, so it depends.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I local communities still get affected, right?
Who said yes? No judgment. No judgment. We've been studying the importance of finance, so there's absolutely no judgment if you said, yeah, take the money. Who said yes?
Bro, who said yes? No.
Who said yes?
Maybe someone else.
No? No one said yes. Someone said yes. Okay, but we've been looking at how important finance is, right? If you were a sponsorship manager within an organization and you have a budget, you have to reach a target of 10 million in sponsorship, and a gambling company offers you 10 million, and all the other teams in the league have got it. Why not, right?
Yeah.
So that's one way you might look at it as well. Okay, should governing bodies ban sports washing and greenwashing?
This also it depends.
Now I get why you're saying it depends when you have like more neutral. When you said like if 9 other clubs are doing it, then you're at a disadvantage to not do it. But if they ban it, then it's better off.
But the thing is, they won't be able to ban it because of
From 2027, Premier League clubs cannot have betting sponsors. So that's like sports
Okay.
governing body banning.
Let's
something.
talk through this then. So, should governing bodies ban sports washing and greenwashing? 2 of you said yes. Why? Who said yes? Yeah, go on.
So like I was thinking in terms of Premier League banning betting sponsors. I don't know if that's sports washing, but like, okay, this sounds. I guess if the governing body takes action,
Mhm.
then all clubs can. It's
Prohibited.
implemented. Like
Yeah, okay.
it's not like like you said, like if 9 other clubs are doing something, then one club taking a different road will be a disadvantage. But now they'll have to be forced to follow those regulations.
Okay. One person said no. Why? Who was the no? Again, there's no right or wrong.
this one guy, man.
Somebody said no.
Who is this one guy, man?
Why? Well, okay, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but what would be the difficulties with trying to ban it?
Subjectivity. Right?
Funding.
Could be also, yeah, so you could be seen as being anti-growth if you were to stop people being able to buy, say somebody in Qatar wants to buy another Premier League club, then that's more money that's coming into the British economy. So would it be sensible for the Premier League to say, actually, no, we don't want to have more high-profile clubs with more money coming in? No? Okay, so there's issues there. What would be the other issue? If we were to ban it, what clubs might be directly affected as a result of it? City?
Newcastle.
And Newcastle. So very hard to say, by the way, you see that club you bought, you can't have that anymore. We're going to take that off you. Yeah, so that's going to be an issue for them. Yeah. Okay. And it depends. I love this answer. It depends. What does it depend on? It depends is a get out for everything. Depends. What does it depend on?
It depends like how which company they are, like sports washing or greenwashing, like how intense it is.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. So does it matter on which country it is? If it was a sports washing aspect? Yeah? What's the level of severity between it's acceptable and it's not acceptable? It's tricky, right? Who knows? I don't know. No one knows. There's no right answer, and it depends. Okay, good. Right. If you could have a go at the quiz on Canvas. There's like a multiple choice quiz on Canvas. I'll be back. We'll finish this, and then we'll do the drop-in.
Where is it? Oh, maybe exercise one.
Oh, they're the last. No. What is it?
The slide.
It's not a slide. In the canvas.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
this one. Exercise one.
Tab opening.
Cheers, man.
You will come, man.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Pal. They say pal.
What is Madhavar's birthday? What is Madhavar's?
Marhaba.
How are you?
Hi. Inshallah.
How is it?
You say it with your Arabic accent. It's 3 words. Kya haal hai? But you say it in 1 word, like kya hai? Like an Arabic word, right? Oh, question 3 and 4 and 3 are the same.
Ghost of Tsushima. You should play that.
What is the main focus of social performance reporting in sport organization?
It's famous game, right? What is that report?
You only said it, bro.
Many games are there, like.
Primary purpose of
GTA we have played 10 years back. It was Vista Barca, Vista Catalonia.
Bro, the first one.
Just kidding, man.
First time was in
Part-time Barca fan.
That's
I'm not a part-time Barca fan.
That's social.
I'm only loyal to my social performance report.
Revenue generation. No, it's not. Community.
Oh, bro, why that's going to say?
Yeah, after that.
നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇവിടെ ജോലി കിട്ടിയില്ലേ നോക്കിയിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മതി എന്തായാലും ലാസ്റ്റ് ഡേറ്റ് കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ടായി
Chelsea.
They
got 2 Champions League, 2 Europa.
Congratulations.
Won 5 or 6 Premier League.
Okay, how did everyone get on? 5 out of 5? 10 out of 10?
Oh, there's only 6 questions.
Yeah, we did 6 questions, 6 out of 6 then?
What is the primary purpose of the theory of change? No.
Thank you.
The score is unavailable. Oh, okay.
Got it?
Yeah, I mean submit.
Same question. 2 and 3. Bro, I have to.
But the result doesn't come now.
No?
Yeah. One weakness of monetizing.
Oh. Should just give you. I maybe need to change a function. Sorry.
Yeah.
Slide 39.
ഇതന്നെ മേടിക്കാൻ കവറ് സ്റ്റാൻഡ് ഒന്നുമില്ല ഇന്നലെ വന്നതേ ഉള്ളൂ ഇന്നലെ വന്ന് സാംസങ്ങിന്റെ ഒഫീഷ്യൽ ഓഫർ വന്നായിരുന്നു
पहले वाला चूज करने को पता नहीं।
It's not great at this. first one. First one. अरे you also said that one. देखो अरे सच बोल रहा हूँ भाई.
It didn't give you an answer. Didn't let you know if you'd done it.
It says points here.
How much should
I think the point is there.
I mean, did we get it all correct?
I don't know. So make one mistake and let us know. What did you say before? What is the one in sports? Okay.
Okay, most of you got it right.
Okay, we got it correct.
Okay. Right, last little section. So you spoke a little bit in the discussion about some of the negative aspects. First, we said sports organisations are motivated by more than money. So, example, for a national sports governing body, the growth of the sport may be more important or equally important, and then financial return, of course. And for a professional sports club, the dominant goal may be to win trophies and to have success on the field. However, despite the primacy of these goals, sports organisations can equally make decisions and produce outputs that have a negative consequence for society in general. So we've spoken a little bit about types of advertising and sponsorship, and businesses are often criticised for thinking only of their profits they make and ignoring the social consequences of their strategic decisions and the outputs they deliver. This dilemma is particularly striking in the case of tobacco companies. On the one hand, there are profits to be made, but on the other hand, there is significant evidence that smoking links to lung cancer and heart disease. Sport has for many years had a close relationship with tobacco producers who provided millions of dollars for sponsors funds to both community and professional sports. So a couple of examples here: cigarettes sponsoring football, baseball historically, and Formula One. And there's also close links to alcohol as well. Some sports, particularly in the UK, have got quite a close association between sort of alcohol consumption as being part of the club and the culture. Heavy use of tobacco companies as sponsors. So we looked at Formula One down there. Perhaps there's hooliganisms as well that are associated with the club, which are negative and have negative consequence. And these are all kind of things that we need to think about when we're discussing a club and their kind of impact and role. So pros, we looked at some of the good things. We spoke about the community engagement, social impact. We looked at the economic contributions, the identity and pride, social identity as well, environmental initiatives perhaps, and some of the role models and values that sport can create. But we looked at there perhaps some of the social and health concerns, if there's controversial partners, sports, alcohol and gambling companies. There could be negative impact of gentrification if you build a new stadium and you push all the people out as a result of building that new stadium. Environmental footprint, for example, as well. Cultural and ethical issues, and fan behaviour and social issues as well. So what we're going to do is going to split you into two groups. I think you five. Would you mind joining this group? Okay, and the two of you join this group. Okay, and what we're going to do is you've got a decision to make essentially, and you are going to be on either side of a fence debating your decision. Okay, you guys are going to basically, if you'll see on Canvas, your rugby club has been offered a large sponsorship deal worth quite a lot of money with a gambling company. Okay, group here, we're going to call you Group 1. You are going to be in favour of accepting the sponsorship money. Okay. Group 2, you are going to be in favour of rejecting the sponsorship money. Okay. And we're going to have a little debate to see where we get to with it. Okay.
The one who said no all the time saying yes now.
So have a read through the activity, look at the pros and cons of what's been proposed. And then try and formulate your argument or your main points that you want to make. Should be seminar activity 1. And yeah. So you're in favour of accepting, you guys are in favour of declining. Okay?
Munich moved to first round.
You are saying yes. You are supporting this thing.
But
Your group is supporting
Yeah,
this, and we are
against.
വേറെ ഓപ്ഷൻ സമ്മതിക്കില്ല. നാളെ ഡ്യൂട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? നാളെ ഡ്യൂട്ടിക്ക് പോകും. ഇതിന്റെ ലാസ്റ്റ് ഡേറ്റ് ആണ് 1/5. അത് 26-ാം തീയതി ചോദിക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞേക്കാം ഇതിലേക്ക് 27 നോക്കി അതിന് ക്യാൻവാസിന്റെ സ്ക്രീനാണ് ഓ അങ്ങനെ ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ചിരുന്നു ഇത്തിരി പഠിച്ചു ഡ്രോബാക്സ് ഒക്കെ എന്താ പറയാനില്ല വന്നോ
Okay, how are we getting on? Do we have some main discussion points? Do you think? A couple of minutes more?
Yeah.
Make sure you have a chat with the rest of your group, just to make sure you're all on the same page.
Yeah,
with 20 million of
you're running or because of that?
No, I had to use the washroom. But I don't feel like you say something, I have nothing prepared. So Brian, message Brian, right? You will say something.
Sports to actually promote the
So
healthy
it
lifestyle.
says financial stability, like could be 20 million above. Also, I don't know how to debate flash training facilities, and also programs, and also mental health. Yeah, mental health initiative. Yeah. Yeah. So the second one is community and youth choice. So the foundation could be supported crossroads.
Do you have any point
Yeah. And also mental health programs could be grantally funding by sports. These 2 points I wrote down. Definitely. This is specific, like I don't know what. Why you don't know, bro?
I will let him talk.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll see how that works.
Discussion concluded.
Yeah.
represent our group represent.
Sankar left class to have a meeting with Claudio. Yeah. He didn't tell Andrew. He told me he told Andrew. What a lie.
I don't
These were too subtle lies.
Maybe he told them before.
Uncle, you're doing with Divya.
And you?
You?
You're doing with Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
How's it going on?
Yes. Only you have to say. Yeah, come on.
Brian, are you going to play for LA Lakers?
No.
Yeah. Lakers.
Hey.
You want to play for Lakers? You want to wear the 24 jersey? Was 24 Brian's jersey? Kobe?
So,
Yeah. I thought you'll know this.
Okay, ready? So, we have been offered a large sum of money by a gambling company to sponsor the club. Gentlemen,
They can
and
start and
ladies.
then we can counter.
No, I would like to hear your arguments first because you are the one.
Ali had some interesting things to say, Ali.
no.
Okay.
You can say.
Oh, you wrote stuff down. Come on, bro.
You should support.
We have nothing.
Why should we accept money?
Yeah, so we had to access the money. I mean, it would be a great funding opportunity for the club.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, so not only for the club, it can be distributed. It's part of their social development as well. Maybe
Yeah.
organizing campaign for mental health, or maybe any other things that would positively impact the society around.
Uh-huh.
And also, yeah, back to the club again. Then we can use those money for a better training facilities.
Yep.
And for the development of grassroots levels.
Yep.
So which in turn impact the community in a positive way, like that encourages the young kids to more participate in the game. And what are the other topics? That would be our first point, I can say.
Okay, so it's going to allow us to do a lot of stuff, right? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
30 million, right? So, yeah, it's going to help us develop the club, training facilities, and do good work within the community. So it's going to allow us to do lots of good stuff. Yeah? Okay, good. I'm on board so far. Why should we not take it?
Yeah, how can it be like social development thing? Because like, as per the report, like 5% of the people who committed suicide, the main reason to commit is because of the gambling and the betting apps. So like, if people get like some sort of bankrupt, it's not uncertain that we will be always in profit. All the those. So if there is something like people commit suicide because of them, it cannot be promoted in a large scale by a reputed club. It can have a bad influence to the society.
Okay.
So it's never come as a social development. Actually, like promoting the bad stuff to the people.
Yeah, that's the first point. Then second.
But we don't know if the people who ended up with that unfortunate incidents are sports fans or football fans. They can be betting on anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And also there should always be a restriction, like age restriction. If you are 18 above or 21 above, you can do the betting and all those things.
It's legal. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an
So
illegal
when you are
activity.
mentally stable enough, then you can do the betting. Otherwise, that's illegal.
Yeah, okay. Good, good. Back to you, gentlemen.
Our club has values.
Okay, what values?
Integrity.
Okay.
And we want to uphold our values. While it is a good offer, the negative effects long term supersedes the short term gain of money.
Okay.
We're trying to protect our youths in terms of shielding them away from the addiction of gambling.
Okay.
Even some of our players have, as the seminar activity says, expressed concerns. Yeah, that's our decision. We stand on our values.
You stand on your values.
And I think it's not a short-term money gain. It's a very long-term process. So if you're getting a huge amount of money, then we can invest for a very long-term project, right? So
Yeah.
It's not a short-term, like 2-3 year kind of project. It should be a like long, maybe, I don't know, 10-15 years.
Yeah.
Because we're developing the grassroots level as well.
Okay. So what would you say if they said, this is you've got a long-term plan for what you want to do within the area, but actually £30 million is going to allow that to become a lot more manageable overnight. 20 million, so 20.
Yeah.
I'd say no then.
Yeah, even if it's long term or short term, it's actually promoting the betting apps, which I feel it's not. If a club has a good values, they won't promote.
And he said like there should be a restriction. What if some youth they will just they
You
will
are
just
talking about illegal stuff yourself, bro.
huh? No, you're telling right there should be
Age
like
restriction.
age restriction. So what if there's some youth who will just lie about their age and invest money?
Yep. Okay.
So
If they become addicted,
Yeah.
if they start like spending the parents' money.
because nowadays anyone can hide their age.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
But that's not restricted just to sports and football.
Yeah.
That can
No,
be
but
for
he
everything.
clearly mentioned about the betting app.
Yeah.
So that becomes a very
Oh,
broad
you are-
perspective.
Yeah, when you
promoting-
make a
you are promoting
very
betting
broad
apps.
point, then like
And also the one point that we've made earlier, discussed earlier as well, right? So people are so immersed into the sports that they don't even, sometimes they don't even bother about what's written on the shirt and what kind of company they are.
Yeah.
So that's also one point that we can.
Yeah. I mean, all the other teams in the league are supported by gambling companies.
Yeah. So no one, I don't think not many people are aware of that a company is a betting company or a gas company or whatever.
So what if it leads to matches?
Wow. That would be another problem. But, yeah. But, that's not a problem right now. is it?
Also, like in this, it's clearly written that several players and coaches have expressed their personal discomfort.
Okay.
So even if the persons who are inside the club is discomfort with this thing, how can they go?
They may leave the club, so they'll have to the club.
Even if the one of the top players in the
And
team
if the parents are discomfort with this deal, then the players may also leave.
yeah, that's why there's a transfer market, right? So when players leave the club,
Yeah, we can buy some.
yeah, that's why you have more money, you can facilitate
if the
players
coaches
leaving
leave-
and getting new players in.
And also when you are
But,
when we are
but you
recruiting,
just said wait, you just said you could get good players in, but
You also
can't
will get
replace-
good sponsors also.
it depends on the quality of
Yeah, I
the
mean,
player.
that's how it works.
It depends on the quality of the player.
So we're going to have 20 million to be able to buy new players as well.
Yeah, and we get transfer value for
Yeah,
the
we'll sell
player
the
who
ones
leaves
that
the
wanna
club.
leave. Yeah, yeah.
He demands a transfer fee, so win-win, right?
Yeah.
so it's also about like it's not like parents leaving, right? So we are not actually promoting the company itself. We are promoting the club, right?
Yep.
So it kind of contradicts to what Aswin has said, right? The parents leaving, the kids leaving. So it doesn't. I don't think it connects to the point of it.
Okay.
So it's not like we are promoting the company. We're promoting the club, right?
Yep.
So we're just using money there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, what do you mean by that? Like, if you're taking sponsorship
So
from
we are-
one of the
we are-
betting
we are
apps, you are
getting the
promoting
money.
the betting app only, not the club.
But we're promoting the club as well, right? It's not necessarily we are always promoting the betting company. We're getting the
So,
funding.
like, you are doing the branding to promote the the betting app organization.
No, we're promoting the sports.
How?
We're promoting the
Like,
sports.
tell us, like, how do you promote sports through betting app?
The money is given there. We got the
No,
money. We
tell
got
me,
the
like,
fund.
how do you promote?
I mean, you don't
Advertising.
promote the sport through betting, right?
That's what he said,
The
right?
sport is promoting.
Yeah, the sport is getting promoted. Like we're getting.
So even if you don't accept this deal, still you are promoting sport.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, no, it was good discussion. Okay, so how many of you do that? No? Does anybody bet?
Saying no, no.
None of you? Seriously?
Yeah, no.
No, not at all.
It's illegal in India.
It's illegal, is it?
No, no,
illegal in India.
gambling is illegal.
I feel 50-50.
Betting's not illegal, but gambling is.
I mean, it is taxed, so there are taxable platforms for betting.
What do you want to do?
Okay, now imagine that you don't have to defend your position. What would you do? Would you take it? Or would you reject it?
I mean, I would reject it.
You would reject it. Why? For everything they said.
It's like broader social perspective.
Okay. Good. Same. What would you guys do? Take it or?
The debate is over.
It depends. It always depends. It always depends. Okay. Right. So that's the end of the lecture. So if you want to leave, you are free and willing to. If you want to spend this time to work on your assignment, or if you have any other questions, I'll kick around for a little bit and answer any questions. What I've done is I've uploaded a couple of videos to the assignments page to help you just if you want to look back on what you need to do and the requirements for the essay. And there's a video there to help you with off the pitch as well. But yeah, as I say, you're free to go if you want to, if you've got something else you'd rather be doing. But equally, we've got this room for an hour, so if you want to spend an hour working on your assignment, ask any questions. Okay.